focus here is if I can teach agents to minimize their lead cost because they're so busy with organic leads that didn't cost anything.
Hmm.
What would that do for them wealth wise when they retire?
Hello, this is Ryan Anderson. I am the host of Annuity Fundamentals, the podcast for agents out there looking to level up their business. And today we are blessed to have the amazing Eric Howard to visit with us today, affectionately known as Mr. Sevens, the gentleman who you've been in the business for 30 years, and you've created a 7-step process to help agents no matter where they are, brand new in the business, they've got an agency they want to level up, veterans in the business, on how to get leads and additional contacts out there where you're not spending all of your hard-earned capital on leads that don't work, but you can basically grow them organically. Did I get that right?
Yeah, 100%. You spot on.
All right, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning. Now, you've been in the business for 30 years. You owned an IMO that had literally hundreds of agents. How did you go from there? Because frankly, in the insurance world, that's about everybody's definition of success. To, I don't want to do that. I want to deal with leads. I want to train. I want to teach. I want to help people grow. Kind of tell us where you're at with that.
Well, and thanks for having me on. I love helping agents across the country and doing this for, gosh, now 30 years as of September of this year, 2024. Now it allows me to step away from the day-to-day operation of an IMO, focusing on production, focusing on quota, who did this, who did that. Just for me personally, it was pulling me away from what I love to do most, which is just mentor and coach. And I came from being a trainer. And so, my first 14 years in the industry was a rude awakening. I went through a lot of pitfalls and went through a lot of different hierarchies and different companies. And one of the things that happened was no one ever taught me the fundamentals of how to become wealthy at this on the backside. In other words,
Hmm.
everybody was just talking about write this much production, write this much business, keep buying leads. I don't care what company I was with, buy, 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 right? And so in 2008, when I was facing foreclosure, that's when things kind of like really, struck a chord there. Whenever you see your name plastered at the courthouse, right, your
Yeah.
address plastered at the courthouse, that's when you know it's real. And I was fortunate enough to, start working and figuring things out just organically. I just asked the Lord, like, show me what I need to be doing. And even though I was buying leads and writing business, but it was like, what do I do now that I wrote Ryan a policy? Okay, what can I get from this? How can I get Ryan to work for me now and put me in front of a lot of people? And most people are taught, get referrals, right? But let's face it, you get 20 referrals from someone. Who else do you know? You get 20 referrals from someone, you're only going to write about one or two apps because everybody's going to say, all right, have it. Don't, I don't need it. I'm good to go, whatever. But then I just started a more of an organic process. I wanted to be easier. And leads are expensive back then in 2008, and it's even more now. And it's
Yeah.
going to steady creep up. It's steady going up every year. Um, and you said it perfectly. People that they're spending so much capital on leads. And so I tell you, example, I have one mentee right now that he's in telesales. He does final expense, and he's been around for only about a year, but he has
Hmm.
a decent amount of clients, 200, 300 clients or something on the books right now. And in a short period of time, and when I say short period of time, I'm talking less than 3 weeks. Um, and I'm gonna back up for a second. He called me because he saw my podcast, one of my podcasts,
Hmm.
and he was very intrigued with the concept behind my BEC method. My BEC method is a very organic approach to getting guaranteed appointments. Okay, I'm about getting guarantees. I'm about things happening quickly, not worrying about priming the pump. And hey, if you start now in November, you're gonna start seeing results in February. No, this is like immediate, right? So this one gentleman saw the podcast, loved the concept behind the BEC method, and he said, I love that. I'm going to try it. So he picked up the phone and called a few of his clients, extracted the BECs, right, which guarantees 4 guaranteed referrals. Guaranteed. He got 16 extracted and was stuck. He said, wait a minute, this was way too easy. And then he said, okay, but what do I do now? I have 16 people what do I do now? What do I say to them when I call them? Do I just go do a drop by? Do I call them first? What do I do? And he said, I need the system. I need the 7-step sales system. I need the scripts. I need the audio. I need to talk to Mr. Seven. I need some role playing because that's what I offer in this course
Mm-hmm.
is I'm a role play with you. You don't have to figure it out, right? And so when he did that, it just opened the floodgates. And watch this. This guy was spending $1,200 a week on leads. $1,200 a week on leads. That's $4,800 a month. While we was on a live call, on a Zoom call, I had my wealth management division run an illustration on the IUL. And I said, the focus here is if I can teach agents to minimize their lead cost because they're so busy with organic leads that didn't cost anything.
Mm-hmm.
What would that do for them wealth-wise when they retire? Because it is a high percentage, you know it and I know it, it's a high percentage of agents that go broke that did not put enough money away.
Yeah.
And they retire. And that's why they're still writing apps and trying to look for somebody to write apps at 70.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't tell you how often I hear this, that I'm sitting down with agents and we're doing training and that come to our classes. And it's like, so what are your plans when you're trying? Oh, I'm never going to retire. I love my clients too much. It's like, no, you don't. You didn't plan. You didn't take your own advice. Now I need to back up here and
Okay.
BEC method. Break that down. The big question you set up to now. So what is BEC? Explain that to us. What did this young man hear that made it so that he went from spending literally $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year,
Huh?
and then if he's doing telesales on for final expense, then he's got a 20 to 30% chargeback rate on top of that. Then
Mhm.
so we're talking, I mean, that's $10,000 a month of money going out, but if we include the chargebacks and we include the leads, 120 grand a year. I mean, is my math wrong on that?
You're 100%.
All right,
100%.
so what you just said is you showed him how to. We don't want to go down the chargebacks rabbit hole, but BEC, what is that?
So BEC it's an acronym. It stands for Beneficiary Emergency Contacts.
Okay.
Okay. And so I found a way, and this has happened that when, back in 2002, when I first came up with that process, when my grandmother passed away. And so I began a process of, getting in front of the most organic people that has the influence to either tell your client to drop that policy or to keep that policy. But here's the thing. When people do it the wrong way, and I've had people say, I'm gonna go out here and do it. Guess what? They didn't read my script. They didn't practice the script. They didn't role play. And guess what? It can backfire on you and actually cause a chargeback if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we role play. In my course, when people purchase the system, the 7 steps, they also purchase the coaching package. And now I'm one-on-one with you. We're doing it as a team. We do it as a one-on-one group meeting and a team as well, and one-on-one. And what that's for is so that I can hear what you're saying, how you extract it. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be amazed, even though there's a script there, even though when you purchase the license to the system and you're inside the academy online, watching my tutorial, that's me at the whiteboard going over step by step, all 7 steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going over this, how to do it, how to use it, the purpose behind it, what you're going to get from it. Okay. Even though you have a script and a tutorial, people still do it wrong.
You
And a
know,
lot of it's amazing. And a lot of time it's not until I have that one-on-one call or they go back and watch some of the replays of the weekly calls that I do, and they're
mm-hmm.
going, "Oh, that's why I went wrong." They have the script and say, "Why did I add this language? It doesn't say that in the script, right?" And
You
and
know,
then change it that little bitty little tweak. All of a sudden, I mean, I get text messages all the time, Mr. Seven, I got 10 more appointments this week. Hands down, it was so easy.
Hmm.
Then they start writing business and writing business.
You know, it's funny when you said a couple of things in that really struck a chord with me. I mean, our podcast, Annuity Fundamentals, that is what we go through and we teach. The first thing we do when we meet with a brand new agent and we say, all right, you are currently selling Medicare, you're selling life insurance, and you want to add these larger pieces to it, that we talk about the key three. You've got to learn how to properly introduce yourself. You've got to learn how to take a proper fact finder, and you've got to learn how to identify an opportunity and then set an appointment for that. If you're a Medicare, we've got scopes and we've got other things we've got to deal with. But one of the things about that is that I had an old mentor in the industry that he said, okay, when you go through and you have your weekly meeting, and this is back when I was a district manager, and you're sitting down with your folks, you need to go through and pick a solution, a product, and whether that's final expense, Medicare, it doesn't matter. And you go through and you spend 6 weeks, 2 months on it, and you have them go through and how do you sell it? Then the next week, how do you sell it again? And the next week, how do you sell it again? So by the fourth week or so, everybody knows exactly what to say. But at that point in time, you can then start working on nuances, the pause, the inflections in your voice, the I lean forward and I clasp my hands together. Right? When I'm
Yes.
making description, this is what my hands are doing. If I'm virtual, this is how I go through and I get myself in the room. But it's those nuances that if I'm just reading a script, there's a big difference between just reading a script, Ferris Bueller, Ben Stein style,
Right,
versus
right. Becoming that person. It's becoming that. And I say this all the time when I'm coaching people and we're role playing. I always ask them what is their favorite movie
mhm.
and why. And it's always due to the actor that got that part. And I'm always telling people, well, if you look at the Titanic, for example, Leonardo, why did he get that part? Do you think he was the only one that read for Jack Dawson? No. Someone else read that part too, but he's the one that got it because he became Jack Dawson. You got to get into the script. You got to understand this is why the tutorial when you get into the course and you're watching that particular step number 4, the BEC method. When you're watching it, I'm digging deep inside of it and explaining why there's 3 top reasons why you need to contact the BECs within 24 hours and what it's going to do for you, right? And I'm going through that process so people can understand this is not just about making money, but there's more to it than this.
Mhm.
And this is why it becomes guaranteed. If you say this, it's not guaranteed no more. If you say that, it is guaranteed to sit down with them within the next 24 to 48 hours. And then there are certain things that I go over when you go and talk to them and present to them. How are you going to convert them from being just a BEC to actually writing a policy? Now, I want to say something real quick. I know because I know we're talking about the IULs. So this one person, I'm gonna read this from my phone. So we ran the illustration. He's 42 years old, and I want to say this because I want every agent that's watching this to understand that there is a different end game that you're not even considering. And most hierarchies, IMOs, whatever, they're not teaching this. They're not teaching if I can save you money from this part and make you more money over here, what happens if you take the money that you save and invest it in yourself and your family?
Yes.
So the same $4,800. Watch this. He's 42 years old, and what my partner texted me was it said he's going to put away $57,000 per year, which is $4,800 a month after 20 years of payments. Right? This is
Mhm.
stop buying leads because he's not even buying leads anymore. And what I said was, here's what you got to do mentally and physically. Have the discipline to keep spending the same $4,800 a month, but you're going to put it somewhere else. And he said, okay, what are you talking about? I said, well, at age 65, according to the IUL illustration, at age 65, you would have put in $1.1 million in premium toward your retirement.
Mhm.
Your cash value is at 2.3 million. That's more than double what you put in. Now watch this. The death benefit started at $754,000.
Mhm.
But by the time he retires at age 65, it's at 3.3 million. Now
Nice.
watch this, Ron. This is gonna blow your mind right here. Because at this point, I asked him, how much life insurance do you actually have on yourself? Do you realize that life insurance agents are some of the most uninsured. They're uninsured. They don't have enough insurance, but they're selling it.
Hmm.
And this right here is a way to say, you know what, I owe it to my family. If I buy this system, if I have this system and I'm generating all these leads and I'm selling 10, 15 apps a week without buying leads, and I do what this gentleman is doing, guess how much money he's going to be able to pull out tax free when he turns 65 years old. You ready for this?
Let me take a guess. Just 2.3 million cash value, 1.1 million there. About 90 grand a year tax free, if I had to guess, conservatively.
200,
Damn,
200,
dang, pardon my
16,
language.
$16,000 per month, tax free, and never deplete the account.
Thing
No
about
one's
us,
teaching.
no, and thing about it is that when a lot of people say that and they're like, so how does he do that tax free? And well, you're taking loans against the policy value that you don't intend to repay. It is how it kind of works. But the thing about it, tax free, that's also, it's not income. So therefore, it's not going to affect Medicare's, your IRMA bracket. It's not going to affect all these other different things there because it's not technically income.
Who cares
And
about Medicare when you got $16,000 a month that you can pull out? I mean,
now, now thing about it, now let's take a step back further. That knowing that he's got that, and if we were to go through and run those numbers, like I don't want to work till 65, I want to work till 60. He's got
yeah,
options now all of a sudden. And
yes.
as far as that goes, and it just that is spectacular. So that's the little guy. Now, what happens if I'm an agency and I want to kind of one of the things that I struggled with when I was a district manager is I'd have quality people come in
Mhm.
and the thing about it is they couldn't survive the first few months. That they'd get in there and they were working, but they had again thousands of dollars going out in leads. They would sell something, maybe they get started in AEP and they're closing, but they're not going to get paid until January. And then I mean, there's some real difficulties with that. And so if I own an agency or if I've got a team of 4, 5, 10 agents, whatever it is, and I want them to take advantage of this, you've got a solution for that too, don't you?
Yeah, we actually have an agency package. And because I've built my agencies up down through the years, good, some bad, had a lot of pitfalls, ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love to do is teach agencies what not to do, like who to hire, who to fire.
Mm-hmm.
I put together a manager's guideline. So when I was running my own IMO years ago, my wife and I were the co-founders and CEO of it. We had a lot of managers that I was helping them build their agencies up, and it got to the point we started noticing that there was a lot of agents coming in but not producing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, my mind was on my duties was I was handling other things and not so much over there. But I had to kind of step back in and say, well, let's look at this thing. And what agencies got to understand is that if you are paying someone a salary to process those contracts,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're allowing managers under you to keep hiring whoever they want to, right? Kind of like the old spaghetti method,
Yeah.
throw all the spaghetti you want to against the walls and see which one sticks. There's a problem with that. Agents and managers are not paying for your contracting person, right? But you're paying a salary. I was paying close to $1,000 a week for, my agency person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Scrub the contracts, reach back out to the agent, let them know what was missing, whatever. Before they send it off to the home office, they had to, scrub the thing really well. But then we're not seeing results come by. And I found out we're hiring too many of the wrong people. And so now I had to put together a manager's guideline. And once I did that, everything turned around because it gave them a track to run on, who to hire, who to fire, right? How to set expectations, how to get expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, how not to, if you're 1099, you can't demand anything. You can't give a quota. You can give expectations,
Yeah.
right? You can. I have a way of teaching agency owners how to get every agent to want to bust through the brick wall for their agency. Who wants to do that? Who wants to show up to their meetings? You know what I mean? You can't make them show up to the meeting, but you got to have it to where they desire to. Okay. I teach about branding. I teach about marketing themselves. Not necessarily get on Facebook and say this, but how to brand yourself in such a way that sets you apart from all the others. And it's amazing that when I interview and talk to agency owners and I'm asking them, if I was an agent, tell me why I should pick your agency over this other one that I have a meeting with next week. Tell me what. And everybody say the same thing. Well, I'm gonna help you build generational wealth. And I say, how so?
Yeah.
Everybody say the same thing. I'm help you build generational wealth. Are you teaching that? Are you going to teach your agency or agents in your agency how to get a trust set up? Because you can't leave generational wealth without a trust. No, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, you didn't. See, I teach agency how to go that extra mile,
Hmm.
how to truly set yourself apart from anybody else, because everybody else says the same thing. I'm gonna help you build generational wealth. I'm gonna help you hit six figures. And the only method is buy a bunch of leads on a weekly basis. But now I've taken agencies from, there's one in particular I'm thinking about right now because he just texted me. Um, they're on track right now for November to hit 605,000 right now. That's the goal, and they're on track to hit 605 in
Nice.
AP. Well, when they reached out to me, they saw me speak somewhere live and reached out to me in April, and I started working with them, coaching them in May.
Hmm.
They had 200 agents and only 40 was producing,
Okay.
and they were doing 200 and some thousand a month in production. In May, they're on track to do 600 this month right now.
So let me ask you this: if you just talking about this example, so that number of about 10 to 15 to 20% of actual agents signed up with an IMO producing, that's actually a fairly standard number across the industry. Were you able to increase that number as far as more agents producing, or were the agents that were producing able to produce more, or a combination of both?
Combination of both. And one of the first things that came out of my mouth as I asked them questions to get to know what their process was, one of the
Hmm.
first advice I gave them was, we need to go on a hiring freeze. Don't hire nobody else right now.
Right.
And I teach agencies how to nurture within.
Yeah.
A lot of dead weight before we get rid of them. Before you start saying, I'm cutting, I'm putting people on the chopping block. Let's get on a call. Let's offer this. Let's offer that. Okay. And what I do for agencies is I have in the agency package, we have like an umbrella effect to
Yeah.
where you purchase the system and it allows the agents without buying the license to the system, but they kind of ride underneath their umbrella, if you would.
Hmm.
And so that's one thing to be able to say, we have a system now that's been purchased that every one of you have access to. And they go, wait a minute, I saw him on the podcast. I saw, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been wanting to get a system, but I couldn't afford it. So all I gotta do is start producing and I can have access to the system. Let's go. And the number just went through the roof.
You
People
know,
that's been sitting on the bench got in the game and they start working.
one of the things you said, two or three things that really ring true to me. One of my favorite, management leadership books out there is Good to Great. It's an industry standard. It's been there forever. And one of the things he talks about in that book is it's better to have nobody on the bus than the wrong person on the bus. But he
Mm,
talks about getting the right people on the bus to bring the right people in, and then you can build around them. But if you've got somebody who's negative, who's pessimistic, who's a non-producer, who's just everything about them is like the Eeyore, the world's coming apart, cut the dead weight. But if you've got other people that are there, I mean, and getting the right people in there, just time and time again, it was amazing how, especially with a small team, if you've got five people on the team and you bring in one more person, that is a 20% change in the whole personality of the team. You
yes.
can't take any organization and replace 20% of it without an impact that impacts the whole organization. And so, for the good or for the bad, if you bring in a change agent, either positive or negative, that will ripple through the organization. And so, having a proven method to bring people in, show them how to produce, and kind of, because I see it all over again. And tell me if you've seen this. I've got an agency, or I've got my own office, whatever it is, my own team, and there are eight of us. And whenever I bring somebody new on, I lose somebody. But I fluctuate at this between 8 to 10 or maybe 25 to 30. But for whatever reason, I can't break through that ceiling. That at the old Peter principle, I've hit my level of incompetence, that my system will only grow this far. And I don't know
Right.
what I'm doing wrong. And
Right.
you've got something to help push past that, it sounds like.
Yeah, because it's I've already experienced it. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I've already taken like copious notes on where I went wrong. I don't mind telling people my pitfalls, things I was wrong about. I thought I try to do it this way, it doesn't work. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't hire this type of person. Signs to look for, right?
Hmm.
And you hit the nail on the head when you talked about, at the very beginning, because the foundation means everything. If you have a rocky foundation from the beginning, your first 10 people means everything. It means everything. Okay. And if you teach, if you adopt and apply what I'm teaching first,
Hmm.
and now you teach your agents when it's time for them to become managers, you teach them the same thing. I even give people the time frame of when they should let others start building. Guess what? Can you necessarily stop them if they're 1099? Not really, but you can have a conversation with them to let them know, hey, here's the ups and downs on building.
Yeah.
And right now, I just don't think you're ready. I have a mentee right now that said, I want to build an agency. I can't wait, da 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 da. And I said, listen, let's pause right now. Right now, you're just getting started in my course. You wrote your first 3 apps within 3 days of buying the course.
Hmm.
Like it opened up just like that. I said, and you're already talking about building an agency. Pause.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna tell you why you're not ready. Okay. I said, your phone was off last month. Your cell phone was off last month for a few days. You're behind on your car note. I said, you're trying to write insurance and you Ubering. You can't afford someone else's debt right now.
Yeah.
I said, there's a little thing called chargebacks. I said, let me ask you a question. Can you control what, even though you may train your agent well, can you control what your agent says in the home when you're not there? No, you can't.
No.
So what happens if that agent goes out and writes a $10,000 a month or 15, $20,000 a month, and it was all based on the 30-day look period? You're not in the house, so you don't know, right? I said, right now you're on your upswing. You're trying to make a comeback, and you need every deposit you can possibly get right now. And so you can control what you can control. So if I have you writing 10 plus apps a week now, and you're dependent on that 2,500, 3 grand for that income to come in for that week, but all of a sudden you have 10 agents over here that have a bunch of chargebacks, things happen. And you need that 3 grand to hit the bank account to take care of before the repo man comes. But all of a sudden you only get $800. Can you afford that? He said, no. I said, no one talks about that, do they? Everybody above him is saying, you need to get back to recruiting. You need to get back to recruiting. But no one talked about the debt.
Yeah.
And there's a time and place of when it's appropriate to say, all right, I'm good to go now. I got people right now that never knew what advanced debt was until I got involved with them and said, let's talk about this. Call your company and find out how much advanced debt you have. And now I have people scaling down their advances because they don't need it. You don't have an office, you don't have a staff, you're not doing incentive for teams, and you're just trying to focus on this big 9 months advance. And you owe the money to the company. Here's a proven example for anybody watching this. If you're writing sizable business right now,
Hmm.
I dare you to call the company and find out how much your advanced debt. Now, look at how much your residual check is per month right now. And understand this, if you died owing this advanced debt, and let's say that your residual check right now is $3,000 a month. You've been doing it for a while, you didn't build it up to $3,000 a month coming in,
Hmm.
but you're writing a lot of business. You call the home office and find out that you owe 150,000 in advanced debt because you're writing sizable amounts of business, 10 apps a week, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know how long it's going to take for your family to get that $3,000? If you're vested, number one, first and foremost, if you're vested, that's the only way the money's going to keep coming in. But if you owe all this money to the company for advanced debt, your family's not going to get that $3,000 for some time. It's going to be probably 2 years before they even see a penny of it because it has to go to take care of the advanced debt. And
Thing about it
so,
is in addition to that, as far as that, I mean, I've trained more agents than I can count right now. And whenever I bring a new agent on, if I'm wanting to make sure they're successful, it takes time to train them. It takes time for me to go out with appointments. It takes so that is time that I am no longer selling. Whenever I'd bring a new agent in, my personal production would drop. And I'd come
Yes.
back and after the you have the hubris of a new manager, a new it's like, oh yeah, I'm good enough, I can help this guy, I can make this guy work. And after you've spent 6 8 weeks on him, like, yeah, I can't fix this. They're not right. And we've all experienced that. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so how much not only did it cost me, because I'm helping leads, I'm helping if you're a good manager and everything else, but then the opportunity cost of I didn't produce, so my own production's down. And then if they did write something and I get a chargeback and they're gone and they're not honorable and they're not going to cover it, it rolls up to me. And I mean, so everything you're saying really rings true. And you're absolutely right that we've been with agencies. And one of the other things about that is that I don't think everybody should build a team. There are two very different skill sets. I can sell. That's one skill set. I can teach somebody to sell. Totally different skill set.
Oh,
And just because you're good over here doesn't mean you are jack on this side. And I think, and realizing that is again, there's a level of humility that you have to have in order to realize, okay, maybe I'm not the greatest trainer. I'm a good teacher, or excuse me, a good sales guy, but I may not be the one over here to do this.
I'm sure you've
So,
already experienced that throughout different hierarchies because I've had managers to step in that space before.
mhm.
Terrible. They're not good with the communication. They don't know how to be transparent and open and teach them and stay on track and text message. It's a, like you said, it's a totally different animal. It really is. And
Yeah.
and who would you say is the best basketball player of all times? Like
Okay.
first name to come to mind. First name to come to mind.
Got to be Jordan. I don't care about you
No,
LeBron lovers. Sorry, just deal with the truth.
no. See, yeah, right, right. Jordan. But guess
yeah.
what? He's the best, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? Guess why he's not coaching?
He's not a coach. I mean, and to hear his teammates talk about him, was like, dude, when he was, I mean, the stories about on the bench where he's trying to motivate people and it just pisses them off. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Pat Riley, one of the greatest coaches ever. He was a good ball player, but man, he was a way better coach.
Yeah,
Totally get that. So,
yeah.
well, hey, Eric, I hate to cut us off here because I'm really enjoying this conversation. Now, if I am interested and I want to go ahead and I want to see, enroll in one of your classes, one of your products, how would I do that? Where would I go?
So you just go to my website, eric7steps.com, and it's the number seven. Everything's about the number seven. So eric7steps.com.
All right. And what we'll do is I'll include that link down below so we can go ahead and do that. And then they can connect with you and see if this would work for them. But again, and the thing about it is here at Annuity Fundamentals, our goal is to help you level up. It's the thing about it is that there's a lot of talented people here that don't understand the fundamental things they need to go through and do. Now, and the other thing about this is somebody that out there might hear this and say, why are you going ahead and helping this Eric Howard guy out when it sounds like he's basically doing the same thing you are? He is. And that we're doing training. But the thing about it is if you do the right thing for people, good things come back to you. And dealing with honorable people that do the right things is important to us. And Eric Howard is one of these guys that does the honorable and the right thing. So Eric7steps.com. Go ahead, take a look at it. And if you've got questions, and also if you'd like to learn more about annuities, check out our website, annuityfundamentals.com, and we can help you with that. The thing about it is that the more you learn, the better you practice your craft and improve your craft, the better you and your family's life will be. Thanks so much, Eric. I look forward to visiting with you again in the future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.